Hi, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be creating two cards featuring the new Sympathy set from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps, as well as several other stamps and products from Blue Knight. Let's get started. For my first card, I have the Seagrass stamp set and the new Clear Sympathy Sentiment stamp set. So this one has 4 different sentiments, and it's very sad when we have to create a sympathy card. It's usually a good idea to make them and maybe make a few at a time. That way you'll have them available when that sad time does come. Because often what I find is if the sympathy card needs to be made, sometimes I am so sad myself that it's difficult for me to find the motivation or to do a sympathy card. So I find if I make them when I'm feeling good, then I at least will have them in my stash. So I'm going to be doing some ink blending today, as you can see, with Distress Oxides. I have 2 colors, Salvage Patina and Antique Linen. Salvage Patina is a greenish color, reminds me of the ocean, and this is going to be my background, and the seagrass will be stamped on this. You can also pick a different color and make a sky background. But I was thinking the Salvage Patina for the sea and the Antique Linen for the sand. And I'm just using my Distress Oxides and my blending brushes. This is my Antique Linen, and I'm using my glass mat with magnets to hold it down. The secret to, ink blending is to have a really smooth paper, and mine is Hammermill Color Copy paper. It's not copy paper though, it is cardstock, Hammermill, and it's a good smooth paper, great for ink blending. And then I just go back in with my Salvage Patina and finish my ink blending. I'm going to go ahead and make another card panel. So I'm going to speed this up for the sake of time. But as I said, if I'm making a sympathy card, I usually make a couple at one time. This time I started ink blending with the Antique Linen, and then I'll go in with the Salvage Patina, and then trying to blend them together so that there's not a harsh line separating the 2 colors. And that blends together very nicely. Distressed Oxide inks do blend together nice. The trick is to have a juicy ink pad and to have a smooth paper. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and take this sympathy set and select one of the sentiments. The sentiment that I have says this: what we once enjoyed and deeply loved, we can never lose, for all that we love deeply becomes a part of us. I also have the seagrass stamp. And this is the large. Now, seagrass stamp, Silhouette Seagrass stamp has 3 different stamps, and I'm using the large seagrass, and I'm using some Distress Oxide ink, and I'm using the color of Vintage Photo. Now, stamping with Distress Oxides, stamping your image, it's not as crisp and clear as if you would use a dye ink or a pigment ink. Distress Oxides are a hybrid. It has 2 different kind of inks combined, but the effect is a softer image. But I like it, and I think it looks nice with this ink blended background. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the 2 smaller seagrass stamps and stamp those as well. And this is a very simple card to create. You could use any colors that you like for your ink blended background. Now I'm just speeding things up for the sake of time. Once I have my stamps clean, then I'll go ahead and stamp the sentiment. And I think I'll stamp this on some ivory cardstock. So I'll just go ahead and grab my Misty and stamp that sentiment. If I can get my paper to stay still. It's nice to have clear stamps for your sentiments. I am using the Vintage Photo Distress Oxide for this go at it with stamping. Sometimes I experiment with my inks. And in a minute here, I'm going to show you that I grab some more of this ivory paper cardstock and I stamp it with a different ink. But for now, I'm dipping this sentiment in my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide. I'm just dipping the edges, and it kind of creates a shadow border just on the edges of this piece that I have cut out. And it is going to go on the front of my card, and I'm just going to glue it down. But I'm going to take this antique linen and I'm just going to ink blend over top of the cardstock. Now I switched over to Vintage Photo, but I'm using Distress ink instead of Distress Oxide ink. I'm just trying to get a crisper sentiment stamped. This is where I, sometimes experiment with my inks. Try different styles of ink to get the look that I think would look the best. I am going to speed this section up for the sake of time. I also had Walnut Stain Distress ink. That's that little cube that I'm using right now. And I like that because it's very dark. Then I'll just flip my paper and I'm going to stamp again with Walnut Stain. Well, that time it was Vintage Photo. Now I'm just going to go ahead and assemble my card. I am using some ivory paper cardstock as a matte layer. I've got my sentiment here. This one is, I think, stamped in Walnut Stain. I'm just going to use some liquid glue and adhere that directly down to the card panel. You could use foam tape if you want to, but I was just looking for a simple, simplistic sympathy card and something that is gender neutral. And here's a still photo. So if you're new to my channel, I'd love it if you'd subscribe. Please, everybody, hit that like button, which is the thumbs up, and leave a comment. All of these things don't cost you anything, but help me to grow my channel. I am trying to reach 5,000 subscribers. At this time, I have about 4,180. For my second card, I'm using the mixed media papers. And I'm going to go with the paper that is blue and brown tone. I like this color for the project I have in mind right now. Again, this is a sympathy card. I have the sympathy, sentiment, as well as the mixed media numbers stamp set. I'm also going to use this background stamp that looks like sheet music, and it's Tell Me the Story of Jesus. I'm stamping that with archival ink. I'm only stamping the top corner on the right and the bottom corner on the left and a little bit of the middle. I put my paper down that I'm trying to stamp on, and then I just have a piece of scrap paper that I'm putting on top to help me just rub it so that it makes a nice impression. Now I'm going to take some of these stamps from the mixed media numbers set and arrange those. And I'll use my stamping positioning tool for that. I'll get all these lined up first. And I'm using VersaFine ink, just the regular VersaFine. I'll go ahead and grab this standing horse stamp. And I'm stamping that with Midnight Ink from Catherine Puller. I'm going to go ahead and color my horse brown. I'm going to give it a yellow mane. And I'm going to color in the grass with yellow. Okay, so I skipped forward to the finished product, what it looks like after I color it in. And I do like this, but I think I wanted something that would be a little bit more prominent and not look so faded in the background. So what I'm doing is I stamped the standing horse on my cardstock. I colored it in with colored pencils. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this image, and then I will pop it up with some dimensionals on the front of my panel. After I fussy cut that horse, I put some foam tape on the back, and I'm just adding some liquid glue on top of the foam tape just to give myself some wiggle room time to adhere it to the card. I want to make sure that I'm covering up the horse correctly. And it just takes a minute to move it around a little bit to get it into position. And then the sentiment that I'm using, I also put foam tape on it. It says, "The loss is immeasurable, but so is the love left behind." I'm just going to put that right on the top here, right by my horse. And there's my mixed media card for my second card. I did use ivory cardstock as a mat. Thanks again for watching. I hope you liked the cards that I created. Please leave a comment below letting me know what you think. And also, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to my channel. And please don't forget to give a thumbs up. I really appreciate your support. Thanks so much for watching. Have a hopeful day. Bye-bye.